Thank you for coming. My name is Orvell Johns. I'm the Court Director for Domestic Relations Juvenile Court. Most of you know me, but I just wanted to make sure that I stated that in case someone I haven't met. Our leadership series, speaker series, we're in our third year, actually a little bit more than third year. And it was really designed to give people who work in local government an opportunity to meet leaders and to ask questions and to be exposed in a network of people who are trying to help themselves and improve themselves. The interesting thing about leadership in government and public service speaker series is turned it more into a forum, and our IT department has been filming it on YouTube ever since. So you will be finding yourselves on YouTube, and your kids years from now will be laughing at you. So just add a little bit more pressure on you. Just want to let you know that. I just want you to be aware of that. So before we get started, I have 4 leaders here, young leaders here, but I wanted to give somebody an opportunity for a leadership moment now. And I'll tell you why. When I first got to Columbus, I went to a seminar for people who are interested in sales. And one of the experiments was to leave that conference and go out into the community and see if you can get something of value from someone without offering anything to them. And when I did that, I was gung-ho. I went out there and I realized at the time I didn't know Columbus. I was in Dublin. So years back, and it was uncomfortable for me to be in Dublin at the time. I didn't know that because I didn't know Columbus. And so everywhere I went, people were kind of shunning me, like, what are you doing in this store, in this neighborhood? And you had like 30 minutes. So I kept jumping in my car and driving around. So finally I went into a store and I just kept introducing myself to people in the store. And so I stopped this gentleman. He was a little older gentleman. I said, is there anything I can do for you? And he says, do you work here? I said, no. He said, no, I'm looking for, he was looking for some type of product. I said, well, let me help you find that. So once I did that, he says, that was nice of you. I said, well, I need something from you. And so I told him what I needed. And he said, no, I can't give you anything like that. I said, well, what if I give you something that I have? He says, well, what do you have? I said, well, this is all I got. He said, I'll take the tie. It was my favorite red tie. I've never found another tie like that. But I gave that to him because I said, I'm not coming back a failure. When I go back to that conference, it was a conference of hundreds of people. I said, I'm not going to be the one who did not risk being successful out of fear. And when we got back there was probably only like 20 out of the hundreds of people that was there who actually completed that exercise. So I knew at that moment that I was willing to do what it takes to be successful. Just those small moments. So I'm going to ask somebody here an opportunity. Everyone here has the bios, right? Is anybody willing to stand up and read them? Your moment to be in a public spotlight. You want to be successful? Sometimes you got to be successful when you're called upon, not when you're prepared. Anybody here willing to take that chance to be successful in a leadership role?
Just for the record, I would, but I don't have a reading glasses.
I know you would, Mr. Stan. In fact, I was going to tell you no, because you've done these things for me, so I appreciate that. So the other part of it is, sometimes you get called out. So tell me, you came into an environment to learn about leadership, and there's a chance for you to find out if this is for you. Do you want to be a leader? Look at you guys. All right, so in fact, I'm going to put you two on the spot. Come on up here and read it. I'll let you both do too. Mr. Atkins, you can do the first two. Just speak into that mic. Yes, you can do the first two.
Is that mic on?
Hello.
It's not.
My name is Jerred Atkins. I work with the Juvenile Detention Facility. I'm the security manager over there. Pardon me if I get your name.
It's Jaiza.
Jaiza?
Yes.
Thank you. Jaiza began her work with the city as a law clerk in the city attorney's office in May 2008 before becoming an assistant city attorney. She was appointed to Columbus City Council in January 2015. As a city council member, she's been hard at work to improve our neighborhoods and looks to continue to build upon already successful programs that turn vacant or abandoned properties into productive uses. Councilmember Page joined Eastman and Smith in February 2016. She is chair of the Economic Development and Small Business Housing and Judiciary and Court Administration Committees. Jason Sankey proudly serves as the Chief Information Officer of the Franklin County Clerk of Courts. His goal is to balance innovation with a realistic approach of advancing technology by integrating strategy with infrastructure and the mission of the organization. Prior to joining the public sector, Jason spent 13 years serving as Vice President at Citigroup in New York, and Columbus, Ohio. Jason holds a number of certifications, including a Project Management Professional designation from the Project Management Institute and Financial Industry Regulatory Authority Series 7 license.
Hello everyone, I'm Kevin O'Neill. I work at the Franklin County Juvenile Detention Center. I have the pleasure to introduce Josh Werning and Jessica Wilkins-Bibbs. Josh is a staff attorney for Judge Beth Gill in Common Pleas, Domestic and Juvenile Court. After graduating from Kent State University, he moved to Columbus to attend Capital Law School. He graduated in 2011 with pro bono honors and began working in Capital University's Family Advocacy Clinic as a staff attorney. In 2014, he took the position on Judge Gill's team overseeing the law school externship program at the court. He is currently in his 4th term on the board of directors for a local nonprofit called Asha Ray of Hope. Jessica has had the pleasure of serving as the Human Resources Director for the Franklin County Data Center since 2013. She possesses over 14 years of experience in human resources, proving strong in the areas of talent management and development, strategic management, and performance management. Prior to joining Franklin County, Jessica worked as a senior HR leader in the private sector within the healthcare and technology industries. Jessica is a member of the Society for Human Resources Management and the Human Resources Association of Central Ohio.
Can you please give them some love for doing that? It's harder than it seems, though. Like I've actually watched them two present. You seem a little nervous when you get called out like that. It's when you prepare for it, it's a little easier. So I really appreciate both of you doing that. Part of the reason why I was doing that, because when you're thrust into a leadership role, it's generally before you believe you're ready. A lot of times people go after jobs like, I know I should have got that job, they just didn't like me. But it's probably because you weren't ready. I can remember interviewing for director of lottery. I was in my 30s, and I was like, how dare them not hire me? I probably would have tore that job up. I probably would have fired everybody on. I probably would have got the state into financial trouble. But you couldn't tell me at the time that I wasn't the most qualified person for that job until you grow and then you evolve and you realize you need to learn how to work with people's attitudes. You need to know how to work under political structure. You need to understand how budgets work. But mostly you need to understand who you are and how you handle stressful situations. And that's what these 4 young leaders have been doing. I thought to myself, you know what, we need to hear from our young leaders. Obviously voices of young leaders, because we often wait too late before we make you reflect on what it is that you're going through as a leader. You're going through it every day, and I know I've talked to all of them. I've known Jaiza for a while, but I've talked to all 3 of them, and they asked me, what should I expect? And we just had a little discussion. But part of it is that you aren't always mentally prepared to provide information to people who come to you. But people come to you all the time. Every day, people are asking for your input and your advice, and you don't know it. Sometimes it's just cloaked into, Jessica, that's a nice outfit you got on. Where'd you get it from? They're just preparing for the next question that they have for you. So your kindness, your welcoming face allows them to ask the next thing. So you're being set up to lead, and that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to ask you guys about 5 minutes. Just tell me about your background. You know, where you grew up, your family, your school, and how you've arrived at your position. And so I won't put you on the spot, Jessica. I'll start with Jason.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for coming today and taking time out of your day. I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio, and tonight is the draft, so the Browns will turn everything around tonight. Right. I went to Ohio University, where I studied chemistry, and when I graduated, I moved directly to New York. I wanted to live in New York, I wanted to work in New York, so that's what I did. I didn't even stop in Cleveland on the way to New York. I just moved to New York. My first job, I worked at Citigroup, which at the time was one of the largest investment banks in the world, which is both good and bad. On the positive side, I had the opportunity to work in various business lines, including working on a trading floor, which was an experience. I was able to manage $1 billion suspense account, which was overwhelming. But then on the negative side, it had 250,000 employees worldwide. So I had to figure out quickly, how do I stand out and how do I not get lost in that 250,000 competitive employees that I worked with or knew of. And then in 2013, I left Citigroup and I came to Franklin County. And for the past 3 years, I've had the privilege to serve as Chief Information Officer for the Honorable Mary Ellen O'Shaughnessy Clerk of Courts, which has been a challenge moving from private sector my entire career to public sector. Many different challenges, but a really good experience.
Okay, thank you. Jaiza.
Again, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Orvell, for inviting me to participate in this panel today. Again, my name is Jaiza Page. Sorry I say my name a lot, but people always look at it and they're like, what does that say? So I appreciate you raising your hand knowing my name was first and you had to introduce me. But I am a current member of Columbus City Council and also of Council at Eastman and Smith. I was born and raised here in Columbus, lived primarily in the Linden neighborhood for most of my childhood, and then moved out east. I left Columbus briefly to attend Georgetown University, and I majored in government while I was there, not thinking that I would ever become an elected official. I knew since I was about 8 years old that I wanted to be an attorney, and I ended up majoring in government because I told my dean I didn't care what my major was, you can pick it. He said I had a lot of credits already in government, let's go with it. I said it sounds like fun. But with that, I was able to get a lot of great work experience during my undergraduate career. And I worked for 2 years with the National Guard Bureau, specifically with the J7 staff, and we did a lot of work on homeland security and training our National Guard soldiers if another 9/11 were to happen here on American soil. So I was a senior in high school the year of 9/11, went to DC, that was the year of the sniper as well. So there was a lot going on, not only in our country, but particularly in our nation's capital. And just having the opportunity to work for the National Guard Bureau really just spurred my interest for public service and helping others. After graduating, I worked on Capitol Hill, and that was a time where I solidified in my mind I will never be an elected official. For many of the reasons I am sure some of you can agree with. But that was, working on Capitol Hill was very intense, but you are very quickly elevated to positions of leadership, a lot of times because of turnover, and also because things are happening so rapidly in our nation's capital. I left DC, moved back here. Again, I always wanted to go to law school, attended Ohio State, and began interning in the Columbus City Attorney's Office. And after I graduated and passed the bar, I was offered a position in the Zone Initiative. And I worked with the vacant and abandoned houses, if there were any drug houses, any places where illegal activity was going on, I would get them shut down. Motel 1 was probably one of my biggest cases, getting that motel closed and eventually demolished. I did that for 4 years, and then I was appointed to Columbus City Council and then elected later that year, and I joined Eastman and Smith in 2016, where I practiced environmental and public law.
Thank you. Josh.
Good afternoon. My name is Josh Werning. I was born in St. Louis, Missouri, and I grew up in Youngstown, Ohio, and I attended Kent State University. When I graduated from Kent State, I took a year off to kind of better my resume and get more prepared to attend law school, which I did down here at Capital University Law School. and I graduated in 2011, at what point I began volunteering at a lot of legal clinics and taking a lot of pro bono opportunities, which translated into my next position, which was staff attorney for Capital University's legal clinic, where I represented the majority of our clients were involved in domestic violence situations where we would help them escape from their abuser, and we help them obtain protection orders, divorces, help them in child custody matters. And after I served as staff attorney for 2.5, 3 years at Capital University, Judge Gill brought me on her staff as her staff attorney, where I now currently oversee the externship program, and our HR department has kind of quasi-adopted me in sitting on a lot of their interview panels, being a hearing officer, and that brings me to today.
All right. Good.
Good afternoon, everyone. My background's going to be a little bit different because I think my leadership role started at age 16 when I became a mom. I was on my own when she turned 4 months, and Mom was like, okay, bye-bye, you're an adult. So at that time, I was a junior in high school and worked really hard. My efforts were, thinking back, I don't even know how I did it. I remember traveling with a baby, a diaper bag, a purse, a book bag, and a breast pump to school every day like this. Worked really hard, graduated high school with honors. Initially started out at Wright State to study philosophy, thinking like these guys I go to law school. Didn't quite work out that way. I transitioned to Columbus and applied at Otterbein for an adult learning program. I was not accepted because of the age requirement. So I just marched my happy self right in there and I said, I declare I'm an adult. Can you please reconsider? And they did. So I graduated in 2003 with an HR management degree. And very fortunately for me, I was thrust into an HR role about a matter of weeks after I graduated. Where I was currently working was at a collection agency. At the time I was working in a funds control area. Transitioned in HR, I had a boss for I reported to the HR manager for about 4 months. After that, I was on my own reporting to the SVP, who was actually in New York. So gave me a lot of good experience very early in my career, transitioned to a couple of other HR manager, director roles with private sector entities, and transitioned to the government with the data center in 2013. And I've had a wonderful, very enlightening experience with public service. It's very fulfilling, different, definitely an adjustment. I really enjoy the time that I've spent at the data center and hopefully meeting and greeting some of you.
All right. Thank you. That's the hard part. Now it's the easy part. I'm going to actually ask you one question to kick it off, and then we're going to open it up to the audience, and we'll go back and forth from the question. This question is for everyone, so you're going to get the answer in kind of like 10 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever it takes you. So the first question is, I'm going back into your history. Let me take you back to the day before you got promoted to your current position or elected position. What were you thinking that night in anticipation of starting in that leadership role? Let me start with Josh.
I would say, so before I started my staff attorney position with Judge Gill, I thought I was extremely unprepared for the work that would be put on my table on day one, which made me feel uncomfortable. And I realized that if you are going to be a leader, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable and getting put in situations where you maybe don't know the answer, have to figure out how to get that answer. People are looking to you to how to give them an answer. So I would say I was definitely unprepared for my current position.
All right. Jaiza, what are you thinking?
I was scared. And I never thought that I would be in elected office. And the process happened very quickly. I applied for the vacancy early December. You do 2 rounds of interviews. They then, and it was actually like closer to late December, I'm sorry. In early January, there's a public hearing. I was appointed at that hearing, and then literally that night I had to resign as an assistant city attorney because there's a conflict to be in the city attorney's office and also a member of Columbus City Council, and start as a council member that next day. So I didn't get to give like my 2 weeks notice. I didn't get to think like, what am I getting into? And I remember there's a picture of me that was taken by the dispatch after the appointment was announced, and I'm shaking all of my colleagues' hands. And to say like she was like a deer in the headlights, that was like real. And I was just thinking, not only what am I getting myself to, again, am I prepared and am I ready? And it was, I think the timing and how it happened so quickly kind of attributed to me being scared and fearful, but it was a great experience, has been so far.
Thank you. Jessica.
Oh, wait. So I think for me, I was like, I hope they don't ask me any IT questions. Really just wanting them to focus more on my aptitude and attitude versus any sort of non-HR technical skill. I had the HR skill, but I was new to the public sector and also IT in general. So that's the nervousness that I had was with that. And at the end of the day, though, you pray on it and put it in God's hands.
That's good. What was that night like for you, Jason?
So the night I was excited. It was a change. It was a change in what I thought at the time was the right decision to make. And then the next day when I went into work, I was overwhelmed. I actually went to the clerk's office, and I was a service provider for the clerk's office before going in, and we didn't provide good service. So I didn't know how I was going to be perceived. I didn't know how the team was going to accept me. So excited the night before, the day of, reality hit. But 3 years later, I hope that I'm able to make an impact to local government and to really the citizens of Franklin County.
All right, thank you. All right, let me open it up. First question up. Anyone have a question? Yes.
My name is Nicole McKinney. I'm a project manager at the Franklin County Data Center. My question is for all four of the panelists. What role has mentoring or being a mentor or mentee played in your leadership roles? And the second part is, what is the most valuable information or tip of advice that you've gotten from a mentor, and what's the most valuable information that you've given as a mentor?
Go ahead, Jason. You can start since you guys are waiting.
I'll jump in. So for me, mentorship has played a tremendous role throughout my career. I had the opportunity to be a mentee with the chief financial officer when I was at Citigroup, who he worked with me, he spent time with me, and I think the important thing about a mentor-mentee relationship is you have to be engaged as a mentee, because someone who is willing to give their time is precious. You have to be able to accept that and grow from that and really nourish that. I'll give an example. I'll throw Orvell, example with Orvell. I was on my way home on Wednesday, and I didn't get any pre-questions, so I ran in Orvell, and I wanted to get some idea of what we were going to be talking about today. And he spent 60 seconds, and he told me something, and then he spent the next 20 minutes talking to me and just giving me some knowledge and some advice. And I'm appreciative of that, even at my level where I am now, where somebody's going to invest time to share information or share knowledge or an experience, to accept that and to really nurture that and be appreciative of it, which you have to be. So it's a mentor and a mentee relationship. And I know I talk a lot, so I'm going to stop and I'm going to let someone else answer the other questions you have, Nicole.
Okay. Go ahead, John.
Well, I think that mentor-mentee relationships are very important. And whether you're serving as the mentor or the mentee, again, as Jason was saying, it's an opportunity to really engage and to impart wisdom or to learn from the individual. One of my greatest mentors, specifically since I've been in public office, is the former city attorney, Richard C. Pfeiffer Jr. And I mean, just to look at us on paper, you would think, how do they connect? I actually met him when I was 18 years old, a senior in high school, and he was the environmental court judge, and ended up working in his office as an assistant city attorney. And then once I applied and was appointed to city council, he was there with me every step of the way. And I could not have prayed for a greater, more helpful mentor than what I got from him. And he's left the state, but we still email, he still calls, and is just always there to provide advice. And one of the greatest things that he told me to always remember is that we all have a brand. And whether you consider yourself to be a leader or not, you have a brand. And my brand is Jaiza Page. And I myself as Jaiza Page work for this brand known as Jaiza Page. Because people really don't know me. I mean, you'll get a snapshot of all of us over the next hour, but you still won't necessarily be able to leave and say you know everything about Jaiza or Jason. But with that brand, you have to make sure that people who surround you, they also believe in this brand too. And it's not just in your brand, but you believe in their brand. And for me, it's having a great reputation, working hard, being someone who's honest and transparent. And so my team at City Hall, my team at the law firm, I want all of them to work towards that brand as I'm working towards that. And advice that I give to people who I mentor is that we can do it together. And I think sometimes mentors, they give this advice and they're like, okay, go mentee fly. But at some point in your career, you need somebody who's willing to go at it with you and to help you. And for me, particularly for high school students or those who are early in their career, I'm like, whatever it is you want to do, we're going to do it together and we're going to accomplish this.
Thank you. Josh.
Echoing what she just said, I think I probably have one of the greatest mentors in Judge Gill, and I won't spend time on everything that I've learned from her, but the mentee mentorship is kind of twofold because I think I would fall under both categories at the moment. But what I take from Judge Gill, I hopefully have translated that down into the externs that I oversee at the court, and even though they may only be a few years younger than me, they're already looking up to myself and other attorneys around at the courthouse as mentors. So I would say one of the qualities would be learning as a mentee and then translating that down when you become a mentor.
I think when I reflect on one of my mentors in my life, some of the best advice I got was focus on your value proposition at all times. So whatever you're contributing to, really find the niche where your strengths can best improve the circumstances, best make you shine, reflect well on your team and so forth. When I mentor others, I try to focus on the continuous learning piece. It's great to get a degree, and that should be commended, but you always have to sharpen your saw. It's really important. It helps you to, adapt well to change, be agile, and so forth. So that would be my best advice to those I mentor.
All right, thank you. Good responses. Any other questions from the audience? Yes.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Orvell, I really like this format. So my question is, it's a different direction, but my question to you is implicit bias a myth or a reality? And in the work in county government, and if it's a reality, what are some things that you are doing as leaders to combat that?
I'll take that one first. It's a reality. It's a reality. Everyone has bias. That's the truth. How we, process that bias is what we need to concern ourselves with in the workplace, especially in public service, because we want to be open-minded, we want to be fair and equitable, and so forth. What we're doing with that, Bev, and that's a great question, thanks for posing it. Auditor Mingo is actually going to have mandatory training for all staff It's going to be diversity awareness and include a piece on implicit bias. You see in the news, because you know these things happen all the time. When you look at Starbucks, they found themselves in some hot water. Not to say every Starbucks employee would treat the situation as the one did, but that continuous learning piece, because it is a reality. It happens every single day. It's just, you know, the more that we educate the staff, the better we are.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to address that?
I agree. It is absolutely a reality, and I experience it, you know, on a very personal level in both my position as city council and as an attorney. So within the past 3 weeks, I've had these two incidents happen. I had a group of people come to City Hall, and they were meeting with Councilmember Jaiza. So I went downstairs to get them, and the man says, "Oh, are you the helper?" And, you know, and I'm thinking in my head, well, you didn't try to figure out who you were coming to meet with. But I know because of my age and most likely my race, they assumed that I was the aide to the council member. I was in court about 3 weeks ago with my firm, and there are a lot of attorneys on this case, and I just happened to be updating our agreed entry, and one of the attorneys says, "Oh, are you the paralegal? Or are you my partner's assistant?" And I said, "No, I am of counsel with this firm." And again, I know it's because of my age and most likely because of my race. So personally, I try to make sure, again, with that brand and the things that I'm seeing and how I respond, that I'm educating individuals who look at me and assume things a certain way. But also on the city side, we are increasing our training among city employees as well as like the Columbus Police Department on implicit bias to make sure that that education and training is always there.
Thank you. Anyone else? That's it.
The only thing that I'll add is from the moment I step out of my door to the moment I come back home and walk into my door each day, I see bias towards me, towards my family. My daughter, she's graduating senior. She graduates May 19th. She's going to Miami University. And some of the obstacles that she faced her 4 years in high school, I'm just shocked. You know, I think about, you know, life growing up for me, and I would think that things would have been different for her, but they weren't. And the hard conversations I would have to have with her is, you're gonna expect this when you enter into the workforce, and you have to know how to deal with it. So these are good lessons to make you stronger and for the future, but from the moment I step out the door to the moment I return.
All right, thank you. I'm going to ask this next question because Jaiza actually created the thought in me. You were talking about how people don't actually know you even though they're going to spend an hour with us. And so the question is, when you are in a leadership position, people create opinions of you that don't actually align with the way you think you really are. How do you deal with that personally? How do you process that internally when people have opinions of you that you know aren't the ones you have of yourself? Josh, we can start with that.
Yeah, so especially being in the legal field, your reputation matters. So it bothers me personally at first, but you have to take it with a grain of salt and take steps. If it means something to you to change that, and whether that requires patience, education on your part of whoever has certain opinions of you, but I would say that takes time and patience to remedy their opinion of you and change their mind.
Thank you. Jessica.
That's a good one. That's a good question. I think for me, what I try to do first, and maybe this is ingrained in HR professionals, but you always try to put yourself in their position and see the circumstances from their position. If you do that, you tend not to take it personally. And if I still have gaps, I will ask the person directly for feedback. You know, why do you think that way? Why do you feel that way? Can you provide examples for my own professional growth, personal growth? That tends to work. So I don't take things personally. Maybe early in my career I did. I don't tend to take them personally anymore. At the end of the day, if I hold true to my values, then I know that I've done the right thing.
That's good. Jason, how do you process it internally?
I would agree with Jessica. You have to focus on your values. I struggle with perception. I struggle with peers and perceptions of me and my role and my leadership style. But being aware and then focusing on your values and who you are and getting through that situation, because at the end of the day, you are who you are. And you know who you are, regardless of how others may perceive.
Okay, thank you. How do you handle that, Jaiza?
I have definitely grown in that area. Initially, I would take it personally, and it would hurt my feelings. And I remember talking to my mom, and she's told me, Jaiza, these people don't know you. They are basing their opinions of you based on what they believe they know about lawyers. Like I had a lady say, all lawyers lie. And then about politicians, all politicians lie. And she said, you have to work to dispel those myths that people have about individuals in these certain positions. So now I've grown and I don't take it personally. I just say, they don't really know who I am. And when someone makes a comment, I would reach out to them and say, do you want to meet? Do you want to sit down for coffee? Because I want you to have the opportunity to know me and not continue to go, I guess, on what you think you know about me. So it definitely is a growing process. I mean, I remember times when you get really mad or you're like really sad. I've had people make videos about me, write long posts about me. I'm just like, this is just crazy. But again, it's being able to understanding your worth, your value, and being confident in yourself.
Great responses. Great responses. Any more questions from the audience? Or? No? Okay, I have another one. This is a true or false question. True or false? I am more concerned about what my peers think of me than making tough leadership decisions. And you know there's a caveat. Once you say true or false, I'm going to ask you to explain yourself. So I'm going to come back to Jaiza since you did true or false on that. You're more concerned about what your peers think of you and then making tough leadership decisions.
False.
Okay. Oh, you're saying false? Okay.
False.
All right, explain yourself. Why?
You know, in each role that we have here, we're going to be approached with tough decisions day to day. And if you focus on the goal, the task at hand, you really don't let people's personal opinions derail you from that. Because then, if you're wavering, people won't respect you. You have to hold true and always focus on the goal at hand. People are going to dislike you. You may not be popular, and that's okay. They may not like you, they respect you.
Okay. What do you think, John?
To give a lawyerly question, I would say true at first, early in my career, but now it would be false.
Okay,
because with experience, you learn how to give fair decisions, especially in my position, to give a fair decision, knowing that it may affect some of your peers negatively. So I would have to say false.
Jaiza?
I would say, some of what you were saying, now in my career, the answer is false. And part of that goes to my brand. And I believe, and I want people to always believe that I am doing the right thing and I'm making the right decision. So regardless of how you may feel about the decision that I made, if you know that Jaiza is making what she believes to be the right decision, that's what I'm going to do.
Okay. Jason?
I would say false as well. At the end of the day, I'm accountable for the decisions I make, not my peers. So based on that, I have to be confident in my decisions, and sometimes I may make the wrong decisions, but I'm also accountable for those wrong decisions, and my peers or anyone else, at the end of the day, aren't accountable for them.
So I'm going to go back to what Josh mentioned, since he was being truthful at first. He said true and now false. So there was a time when we all were the truth. So let's go back to the truth. How did that impact you when you was worried about what they thought? And then how did you process yourself out of that? So Jaiza, so when you gave some good examples about just how people talk about you. So if it was true when you were younger, that you thought more about them than making the tough leadership decisions, how did you grow out of that?
I think one is just like fatigue. You get mentally tired trying to think about what everybody else is going to say before you make a decision. It makes you indecisive. You spend time on some of the smallest things and you're constantly in the weeds. And I just got to the point where I'm like, I want to make the decision and I'm going to be okay with it. So for me, it was more just personal reflection and saying, Jaiza, you got to get through this. Not everybody's going to like you, and you have to be okay with that and move to the next step for you personally and then in your career.
Jason, how did you handle it?
For me, it was when I was a lot younger, where it was my peers as far as friends, where some were just on a different path, and I had to make a decision quickly on, do I want to be on that path or do I not want to be on that path? And some situations happened, and I chose that I did not want to be on that path, and obviously the right decision, but it sticks because I look at those friends today, and they're not really doing anything. Either they're one's incarcerated, another one, quote unquote deadbeat. That could have been me easily if I went the wrong path.
Okay. Josh, now reflect on that.
Yeah, so I would say initially everybody wants to be liked by their peers, and after some experience, integrity probably steps in, where you realize and you have to live with decisions you make, take responsibility for it. So when integrity steps in, your peers, if they truly value your friendship as a peer, or they'll understand the choices and decisions you make, and those people will stay around.
Okay. Jessica?
This is going to sound bad, but I really don't recall in my professional career feeling like worried about personal opinion. Where I did worry about personal opinion is being pregnant at 16. It wasn't as common as what is today, and the stigma associated with that. And I spent many years on how to not be the statistic. I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to be on the other side of this, triumphant.
Right.
So, I don't think that in a professional setting, anything compared to that, at least for me. At least for me.
I was going to ask you that, if you thought that, because you have already experienced those at a younger age, so when you moved into your professional career, that was nothing. You were used to it. But that's kind of what everyone's saying. You always have your moment of decision making that you have to determine where you want to go. Do you want to believe in them or more what you think is right? So we had them, and you just had them out obviously at a younger age. So I appreciate that honesty. I have a question for you, though. The question for all of you, and I'm going to ask you to kind of, again, elaborate on it. Do you make leadership decisions emotionally, instinctively, or logically? I'm going to go with you, Josh. Emotionally, instinctively, or logically?
To give the lawyerly answer, and it probably depends, but it would be emotionally at first until you take a step back and you kind of see the bigger picture, or educate yourself on everything that's involved in that decision. And then I would like to think that I make very logical decisions once the emotional part of it is removed. But it's definitely emotional at first.
All right. Jason, how do you do it? Emotionally, instinctively, or logically?
I say a little bit of all three. I'm a logical thinker, so at the end of the day, the decision I make, I'm going to think it out, and it's going to be logical. But there's an emotional side to it, so I'm going to ask my peers, I'm going to ask my boss for input on the decision. And then some things you have to make. I'm in technology, so some things decisions you have to make instinctively. You're put in front of a situation where time is of the essence, and you have to rely on the experience and expert judgment and training that you have, and you have to make a decision.
Jaiza?
I would agree. I think I use all three of those, and it most likely depends on the decision that I have to make and the amount of time that I may have to make that decision. So there are times when we'll get a call and it's like, we need to know what you're thinking right now. and you don't have time to go through a lot of the mental steps that we may go through when you can make a decision over the course of time. So it is like the more emotional and instinctive at that point. But then if I have more time to reflect and I know that going in that this is a little bit down the road before I have to make the decision, I think that's an opportunity for more of the logic to come in, because you just have more time to think and reflect.
Good. Jessica?
I agree with all three of you.
Okay.
I think that at times you consider all facets. Primarily, we do like to make the decisions logically because it impacts people's lives. But the truth is, there are times when emotions and instinct come into play. So not really.
Okay. All right. Of course, I have another question, but I wanted to just check. Anyone have a question from the audience yet? All right. So Nicole had asked a question about just mentoring and how you have been benefited by mentoring. So in your current positions or in previous position, tell me how you started using your position and your leadership role to mentor others. Give me examples of how you mentored others. Jessica, how have you mentored others?
Well, I tend to mentor those also interested in HR. So when they're in school, people will reach out or friends will connect me with folks, and it takes time, it takes investment on both ends. I think that if I'm mentoring someone, there is an accountability piece to that that's important, because the mentor-mentee relationship is there for a reason, to be purposeful. So some of the things that I focus on, my focus area is always continuous learning and improvement, seeking feedback, always seeking feedback. But also, I like to tell mentees to be uniquely you. It's okay. Take nuggets of each person's leadership style and make it your own. And I think that's because there's leadership in all of us. But take snippets of that and make it your own.
Thank you. Thank you. Josh, you had mentioned currently you were helping externs. Any other examples of how you mentor them?
Yeah, and part of that would be giving back to Capital University Law School, which I wouldn't be in the current role that I am in without them. And so it's volunteering time, going back at speaking engagements at the university. It would be them calling you and you helping current students do mock interviews, resume building, cover letter drafts, but it would just be donating your time and resources to helping current law students or current students at universities. And without those universities, I wouldn't be where I am today. So it's kind of a giving back mentality.
That's good. Good way of looking at it. Jaiza.
I think I want to challenge the way that we think about a mentor-mentee relationship. And a lot of times we think of it where someone has said, I'm your mentor and I'm your mentee. But there are times when you may be a mentor to someone and you don't even know. And so for me, it's always carrying yourself in like the way that you would, even if you don't know this person is mentoring you. And I would like to acknowledge Angela Ratney. She was the chief of staff when I was in the city attorney's office, and she's now the chief of staff in the Honorable Mary Ellen O'Shaughnessy's office. And I tried to model like the way I dressed after her, and I didn't ever tell her that. But I was like, she has authority, she's well respected in this office, she's so kind, and I love the way that she dressed. So I would ask her like, well, where'd you get that? Or, where'd you get those shoes? And try to find it, somewhere. And we used to go to the same church. And she wore a coat one day, and I said, I love your coat. She took off her coat and gave it to me. And I never called her my mentor. She never said, you're my mentee. But she always carried herself in such an amazing way, not only in her actions, but in her appearance. And I have really tried to model myself after her, and I thank you for that. And I still wear that coat, and I get a lot of compliments on it. So thank you.
It's about time for you to get that coat to someone else.
Actually, well, based on that, someone at our church liked the coat that I wore, and I gave it to them because she gave me that coat.
Good job. Good job. All right, Jason, that's hard to follow. Because I like those shoes.
What's the next question?
You know?
I completely agree. That's a great point. You run into so many people on a daily basis. You probably didn't know that you were mentoring me the other day, and we just had a conversation. So it's all your interactions together. But specifically where I've invested my time in mentoring through my fraternity, we have this Guy Right program, which is for middle-aged through high school students, just to help them throughout their journey of being a teenager and high school and then going on to college, where we've been doing that here in Columbus for as long as I've been in Columbus, which has been since '06. And we've had dozens and dozens of kids come through that program.
Yeah, that's good. Those are all good responses as well. This one is kind of, I won't put you on the spot. All of you have supervised someone throughout your career. So my question is, what did you enjoy more, the money or the responsibility that comes with leadership? Josh, I'm hitting you up first. The money or the responsibility that comes with leadership? Which do you enjoy more?
Well, so personally for me, the money hasn't come yet. So part of it is after graduating from law school, I don't know if many of you know, there's a program where if you work 10 years in government and public interest, they'll forgive your loans. So I'm currently kind of on that track, and that has slightly steered me in the current position that I am in. But I can't say that I would have changed my current path if that program wasn't there. I mean, the current position that I'm in, I can't ask for a better position right now. So the money, it's a great thing, but the leadership role is something that's going to last longer than the money.
Right. Jason, money or responsibility? Which do you enjoy more in the leadership?
I'm going to answer it in a different way. So we all have 4 personas. You may not know it, but there's you. There's the person that you aspire to be. There's the person that you pretend to be. And there's the person that people see you as. But as you start to peel back those layers, you're left with one person, and that's you. You can focus on being someone else. You can focus on aspirations that you don't actually focus on doing anything internally to meet those aspirations, or you can focus your whole career on what people say or think about you. But you're left with you. So whatever that driver is, you need to focus on how to build that driver. If it's money, if it's leadership, if it's success, if it's making a difference in the community, you have to focus on you.
Yeah.
I would say with Josh, the money hasn't come yet. Those of you who notice my bio, I have 2 jobs because I need 2 checks to pay all my bills, including school loans. But for me, I would say it's not even necessarily the responsibility, because sometimes the responsibility is overwhelming and it gives you butterflies in your stomach. But it's being able to be in a position where I can give back and I can kind of frame how we give back, and that's what I really enjoy.
All right, thank you. Jessica?
Definitely helping others is the most fulfilling. We all have to pay bills to pay, but the money will come and go. The fulfillment you get from helping others and positively uplifting their lives is, you can't compete with that.
All right, so as a party, because we're getting close to an hour, I ask each of you kind of leave the audience with some nugget of wisdom that will help them in their quest for leadership or just career opportunity. Let me see, let's go with Jaiza.
I would say read this book by Steve Farber. It's called The Radical Leap. And LEAP stands for Love, Energy, Audacity, and Proof. And it's a different way to look at leadership and also a different way to look at life. And what really encouraged me about that book was the L standing for love, and it's inspiring love. And that's not inspiring those who are under you or who are following you to love you, but inspiring them to love what you're doing. And if everybody loves what you're doing, you're able to have that energy, that audacity to do new things, and then you provide that proof not only of your leadership qualities, but that proof in what it is that you love.
Josh?
I probably said it earlier, but when I was in law school, I heard the quote, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I think in order to be in a leadership role, you can't just be comfortable all the time and put blinders on and just keep going forward. You have to be uncomfortable, whether that's putting yourself in better professional situations. If you know you're not good at speaking engagements, try to get in front of people and speak in front of groups. So it's the comfortability is challenging yourself to better yourself, and people will follow.
Thank you. Jessica?
I agree with that. I think that no matter what you aspire to do, it's all about the daily preparation you put into it. Boxing is a good analogy for leadership because boxers they're not made in the ring, they're recognized there. So if you didn't put in the work and you're in a fight, you're going to be found out at the right light. So I think it's whatever you want to do, champion it each day. A practical plan, but map out what your life plan is, not just the fight plan.
Good job. All right, Jason.
I would say maximize your moment, maximize your time. I work out on a daily basis. I have 30 minutes Monday through Friday at the gym. That's all, I have 30 minutes. In that 30 minutes, I'm still at the gym. I can either work out as hard as I can and maximize that 30 minutes, or I can show up and exercise. And they're going to get two different results. You're at work 40 hours a week, each week, and if you maximize that time, you'll get a different result than if you don't maximize that time. And for me, I've been successful because I maximize that 40 hours. If I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there. I'm all in. But if I wasn't all in, probably wouldn't be where I am today.
Thank you. The hour moved very quickly. Actually, I had several more questions, but I'm mindful of everyone's lunch hour. I was really impressed. I hope you have been with these young leaders and their responses. To live them and then explain your experiences are two different things. So talking to them, it's a little easier to say, yeah, I remember when I was young, these things happened. But to have to sit in front of people and say, let me make sure I say it the right way. Those are all challenging things that we have to face. So I appreciate you facing them. Can you guys help me thank them for coming and spending their time? Voices of young leaders.